there's a effort that was crafted actually by Pastor Rick Scarborough and Matt Staver and others were the leaders in this. In fact, we have had discussions all along the way from the very beginning. And it's you can go to defendmarriage.org and add your name to that. There's over 50,000 signatures already from Christians that are basically stating that if the Supreme Court rules the wrong way, they will resort to civil disobedience. And you've got such men as James Dobson that have written, that have signed this proclamation. Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas and presidential candidate, has signed this proclamation. Franklin Graham has signed this proclamation. And as has been stated, and we all know from Acts 5, we will, as Christians, obey God rather than man. But my point with these gentlemen, and I'll make it to you, is we shouldn't have to resort to civil disobedience. There are over 30 states that have properly modified or amended their state constitutions to define marriage as between one man and one woman. That is the law of those particular states. There is nowhere in the U.S. Constitution where the states delegated to Washington, D.C., the ability to force the redefinition of marriage on the states against the will and consent of the people. Let me ask you both, do these states have the authority to simply tell the Supreme Court no if the court rules incorrectly? Let me start with John. Let me start with you.
I would answer definitely yes, they do have that authority. The problem is they're going to have to work together with the various branches, particularly the Attorney General, the Governor, and hopefully the Supreme Court of that state, with some support in the legislature. They're going to have to work together as a unit to get that done. And the problem we have is some states you might have a real solid governor or a real solid chief justice, or a good legislature and so on, but the other branches are not necessarily going to follow suit. So what you really need to take action here is for all three branches of government to stand together on this. And better yet, for states to stand together. You know, if Alabama takes the stand, they can ignore Alabama or they can suppress Alabama. If 10 or 20 do, it's going to be a lot harder. If 30 or 40 do, well, forget it. I mean, we need to stand together on this. And you know, I'll add one thing else on that too, and that's that when you look at what issues we might be standing against the federal government on, they're not always the same. You know, in the South, we tend to be very concerned on what are called the social issues, abortion, same-sex marriage, things like this. In some of the Western states, the concern is more the government taking our lands and regulating our use of property and so on. But we do have a common opponent here, and we need to work together even if the issues may be diverse.
Richard, same question to you as far as do the states have the authority to tell the Supreme Court no?
Absolutely. The states have the ability, they have the authority, and it's simply a matter of political will.